Okay, the loop back is actually working now. So, you know what that means.
People are not going to like this episode.
I mean, we're not professional, but we have actual things to say in this episode. So might as well give some levity. Hey, listeners. Woo!
Oh boy.
Let's start. I just thought it'd be a good stinger, just beginning of the episode, and it's like, hey, listeners, check this out. Discord sounds. Airhorn, 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 Airhorn.
It's
built
perfect.
In,
Yeah, go ahead and stop it so we can hurry up and do the clap and get this episode going because it's almost midnight now.
Guess we gotta get to the episode, listeners. I'm sorry. Well, you know what? Here, hold on. We can go ahead and do the clap.
Please. Please.
In the first aeon, I was the Great Spirit. In the second aeon, men knew me as the Horn God, Pangenitor, Panphage. In the third aeon, I was the Dark One, the Devil. In the fourth aeon, men knew me not, for I am the Hidden One. In the fifth aeon, I appeared before you as Baphomet, the God before all gods who shall endure to the end of the earth. In this new aeon, I appear to you as CMN.
Imagine that there is a brilliant white light just above.
Is commentary on the magic art.
In the years of the primal force and the dawn of terrestrial birth.
Oh, that was very educational.
Now magic will take place. Don't be fooled by what I just said.
All right, welcome everybody. It's Stay Mac and Kennedy here, and this is Chaos Magic News. Shit, did you have one? I don't think I had one.
Oh yeah, welcome to Chaos Magic News. We're the show that's not beating any of these accusations.
As you already heard there, I'm joined today by my athletic and tangy co-host, Dijon Sanders. How you doing, Sanders?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm just waiting for Sunday, game day, and I'm gonna celebrate with a. Oh, the fuck! This is like the bare minimum.
What do I use Dijon mustard for?
Yeah, you can't even. I was almost gonna say ribs, but it's like, no, I use yellow mustard for the ribs.
This is the bare minimum of comedy you get from a name like that. Okay, it's like.
Do you have any Grey Poupon? Is the yeah.
Well, anyway,
and you see in
oh god,
what happened?
Oh god,
the aristocratic consumer, he looks to the other as a status symbol, and he says, excuse me, do you have any Grey Poupon, and so on and so on. And the Grey Poupon is a symbol of consumerism elevating to social status. We have derailed this episode right off the fucking rip. Oh, what the fuck is wrong with us?
Yeah, this is way worse than Law and Order last week.
Oh man, and the problem is that I don't want to oversell it, but we have actual news this week. There's arguably some notable events in the occult community.
Right.
And instead, it's just like tangy mustard jokes at the beginning. What the fuck?
Sanders is right there. We do actually have relevant news that we're going to save till the end of the episode. If you've been here long enough, you know how the format goes anyway. So before we get to our culture piece, we have to go with our intro topic. And, this is actually a request from someone else.
From my beloved, actually.
Yeah, so.
She wanted you to talk about this story on the pod.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible idea either. I guess it's kind of a cute story and it leads to some actual discussion.
yeah, there's a conversation to be had here, but the great anecdote is,
So I'm at work the other day, right? And I made the mistake of mentioning that I had a podcast to a coworker of mine.
Rookie mistake.
It was a long story. It was like I said I was really tired because I was up all night, and they asked me why I was up all night. I was like, well, I had to edit something, and like, well, what are you editing? I'm like, oh, it's a podcast. And they're like, oh, really? And they started asking me what it was about. So I had to. I mean, I'm not ashamed. I don't really care, really. So I just kind of told them. I tried to frame it slightly in like a more comedic, jovial light. You know, I tried to just play up the entertainment angle of it because I wasn't trying to have like a big conversation about occultism with some older gentlemen that I work with.
Didn't your coworker start asking you your opinions on things about like what you thought about Bigfoot and Stargates?
Yeah. Started asking what I thought about Bigfoot, alien UFO type phenomena, the Illuminati in general. It was so it was a fun time as I sat there listening to just the everyday insanity of people, because these were not people that were, you know, super duper into, you know, like going and hunting down cryptids and stuff.
Oh. Because when you told me that, I thought he was like picking at you, like he was making fun of you. But you're saying that this guy was like,
no,
nah, man, I seen a Bigfoot. Are you want to talk about that on your show?
Right, yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at. Like he very clearly believed in Bigfoot, and he started going at it with like explanations for how Bigfoot could like still be real after all the objections that a normal person would give you.
You were talking to Bob Gimlin.
This is the same person that was convinced that Danica Patrick, the race car driver, had messaged them on Facebook.
Well, maybe she did. You don't know. You weren't.
No,
there.
it would be more likely that it was Bigfoot pretending to be Danica Patrick messaging this dude.
Oh my God. Given that Bigfoot has eluded people for years and years, it would make sense that they're an expert at catfishing.
Anyway, but that same day, right, I get a phone call from my dad. And my dad's just bullshitting with me about the usual sort of things, just talking about what's going on. He's like, oh, yeah, I took the fence down over here, and, you know, we're getting so-and-so to repaint the outside of the shed. Oh, and by the way,
I dug a 10-foot trench just to fill it back in because I'm retired and I'm just losing my mind. I need things to do.
I went to bury the dog.
Oh, God.
But he kept digging himself out. Right, but out of nowhere, he just starts asking me about because he found out he found out from somebody else about my podcast.
Who told him about the podcast?
I can't say who, but someone's significant other apparently told them.
I know who you're talking. Got it. Okay, I've filled in the blanks now.
Yeah. So anyway, just somebody explained to them what I was doing on a podcast, and they expressed concern for my soul because my father's a very nice Catholic gentleman. And he kept bringing up the fact that if you believe in good, you have to believe in evil. And it's like, I didn't have the heart.
I don't believe in either.
It's like, I don't know. That's not a thing. But he asked me what chaos magic was because he knew what the title of the podcast was. And I had to give my dad an explanation of what chaos magic was over the phone while I was at work.
What was your explanation?
I said it was an agnostic view of paranormal and magical phenomena, because that was like the best I could come up with for my dad. My dad's not an idiot or anything, but like, I'm sure if I went into the finer points of any of it, they would have more and more questions.
Knowing the type of man your dad is, he's very much someone who thinks that reality is reality and that there's one answer to a question and that's it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
if you started expressing the ideas of reality tunnels or belief as a tool, he's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. He's like, no. Beliefs are,
beliefs are the stupid thing that you have because you can't look at reality like I do.
Yeah.
And you know whose fault that is?
Them damn liberals.
Exactly.
I guess you're lucky he hasn't found Jordan Peterson or anything, because then if he got the 3 lines of like why this is all postmodernism's fault, he'd harp on that.
Well, again, that's the problem. He's not like an idiot. He knows what postmodernism is. He knows what Marxism is. He knows these things. Like, he doesn't know them very well, but he knows what they are.
Yeah, it's Groucho.
He's just like, he's one of those people that he was kind of counterculture when he was younger, and as he grew older, became more and more conservative. At this point, he just thinks that like he's still the counterculture, like that's the problem.
Yeah,
like
he
still thinks
rebelling.
he's the one still rebelling by like, watching Fox News. Be like, man, what the funniest late night show is? That Gutfeld.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Well, anyway, the point of this conversation was not to talk about my father.
It's talking about my dad.
Your dad was the milkman, and you don't know who he is.
I'm just looking around for a guy about yay high. Looks in a way. Has an appearance. You know what I mean?
I believe it was a man. Anyway, but no, okay. It was to discuss the idea of how do you deal with, being a big old spooky woo woo. Like, how do you deal with it? Like, how do you manage it in the sense of, do you just tell people if they ask? Do you try to hide that shit from people? Do you try to do what I do, where you sort of play it in a better light to whoever you're talking to? Just because, well, I mean, and I guess that's my thing. It's like, it's not really, I don't do that part because like I'm ashamed of being a big old spooky woo woo. It's more of just like, because I don't want to talk, we made that joke before we were talking about like talking to your coworkers about Kabbalah and shit like that. I can't remember what the joke was about. I do have a life that's outside of magic and my occult practices, and I don't really just want to like talk to some random fucking 45-year-old dude that I work with about fucking occultism. If he wants to pry into my thoughts on weird stuff, like I'll give him something that's going to be at least mildly entertaining to him, but I'm not going to have a serious conversation about this stuff with him because he's not really capable of a serious conversation about it.
It's not your place to initiate anyone into magic.
You do not have to educate anyone.
Well, I get the joke.
I'm just
you're
making the joke, but
no, but genuinely, it's like,
it's weird, right? It's a weird thing to be like, oh, well, if you want to ask me about magic, I'll just start explaining it to you.
I have the problem where I meditate at work, right? Where it's like, I'll say, hey, I'm going to go take 15 and I'm going to go meditate or something like that. I'll be back. And people already kind of look at you like you've got 2 heads. When you're in a certain type of work particularly blue collar working environments, people don't understand that. What's the point of meditating? And it's like, I always just joke and say it's so I don't beat your ass, so I don't flip out because y'all are aggravating, that sort of thing. But if somebody asks why I'm meditating, I'm not going to sit there and try to talk to them about sunyata. Well, you see, there's qualified existence, there's qualified unexistence, and there's it's like, no, like, you're not having that conversation with somebody about the Dharmakaya or anything. Nobody cares. They're not gonna understand it, and if they do, then quite frankly, you'd know already.
Yeah, right. Like, who's gonna sit there and go through the effort of being like acting normal instead of like,
unless you're there, it's a secret Zen master where he's like, why are you meditating? When I try to give him the answer, he bops me over the head.
Fucking Billy Bob just comes on like, what you meditating for? You're like, Billy Bob, it's just part of my spiritual practice. Oh, so it's a spiritual practice for you then, huh? What about, so is it a doing or is it a happening? Which vehicle do you prescribe?
Who's your root guru? Magic is the same way. In fact, magic's harder to explain because at least you can fall back on like, oh, well, like if with meditation, you just be like, oh, I'm a Buddhist, something like that. Because then it's like, oh, that's his religion.
Well, you also have like the mindfulness aspect of it too, where like a lot of people can like view that shit sort of like separated from any of the sort of thing. because we have so
Where
much
you
of
can
it
say,
in our
it just
society.
makes me calmer and more focused and blah blah blah.
Right?
But
Yeah.
but the point is that if they saw me doing the pentagram, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, now it's like, oh, you're definitely going to hell. Or not even that. They might just be like, oh, he believes in magic. What a nut.
Those are the two sides of it. It's either like, oh my God, devilly shit, he's going to hell. Or it's like, oh, this dude actually believes in this shit. What a fucking nerd. Don't cast magic missile on me, bro.
Yeah. And I won't pretend that like if somebody's like laughing in your face going, haha, you believe in magic, you're probably going to have a little bit of a tinge of like, man, really, we're having this conversation. Great. But, I'm not ashamed to admit that I've got kooky beliefs. It's just for me to sit down and try to explain them to people, it's like, well, shit, how much time do we have? And the fact is, I don't feel the urge to explain it,
Yeah. Well, I feel like every time I've had like even anything close to that sort of moment. Oh, in fact, I do, because I recently got a tattoo colored, and it's a tattoo that has some spiritual, metaphysical significance to me. And I was asked by my coworker to explain it, and instead of actually explaining it, because I was like, I don't have the time or the ability, I just sort of rattled off some like bad mythological symbology type stuff at him. Like, that's enough of a reason. Because I can't be like,
Yeah,
well,
that's when
Babylon, right?
Well, that's when you fall back on stuff like, this goes back to a conversation we had, episodes and episodes ago about sometimes you got to talk to somebody on the level that they're at. And if they're on the level where it's like, if I give you some Jungian bullshit that I don't really believe, but you'll buy it, and then I can keep moving on,
Right.
Or
right.
if I know that that's not going to work, I can fall back on like something simpler. And if I really don't think you're going to get it, I'll be like, oh, I just thought it looked, like the tattoo, for example. It's like, I just thought the tattoo looked cool.
Well, that was like the slow descent to it, because like I made a comment that it was like, oh, it just kind of looks cool. It's a thing. And he was like, oh, you really just got a tattoo because it looks cool. And I had to be like, well, not exactly, but it's
yeah. Well, I have I have like the Lovecraft elder sign on my arm, and then I have the cover of Liber Null on the other arm, and those are like the only two tattoos I have that you can really see because they peek out under my shirt sleeves. Of course, those are the two that are probably the most difficult to explain if anybody asks about them.
At least the Lovecraft one, you can just be like, oh, it's from a book.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually what I said about the Liber Null cover too, where it's like, it's just a book I like, and most people don't want to hear about the book. I've never had anybody ask like, oh, well, what's the book? Because then I have to. It's like, oh, it's called Liber Null, and it's like, well, what's it about? It's like, it's about this guy named Null, and he runs a website where they harass Christians. What's a Christian? Oh boy, now we really don't have time. The Book of Null.
What I was trying to get to there, I think, was just that anytime that I've really had to try to explain it, it just sort of turns into this weird feeling of like they think I'm explaining my religion to them or something, essentially. Like that's just the same level that they put it on.
Mm-hmm. You might as well have said, I, believe in a big spaghetti monster, or any other kind
honestly, like that's what I feel like it turns into. The worst that they're probably going to say most of the time is that it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of wacky and cringe. Like it's like Hinduism or, like paganism. Like those are their comments. Like they're not going to be like, this person is actually crazy and they need to be locked up in an asylum.
Yeah. It's gonna be
the only way that they'd be able to be like, this person's actually crazy and is a danger to themselves is if they were like smart enough to actually get what I was talking about, which most of them aren't.
Boy, you're a real man of the people.
Well,
I don't think it's
not because they're dumb. It's just because it's like,
no. That's what you're saying. You're saying everybody isn't as smart as me because I read Heidegger. I get it. You're an asshole and you hate the common man. No, for real. 'Cause it's not that, the problem is that most of these people, it's not that they're not smart enough. It's that they don't care. It's the same way that it's like it's not that I think that you're dumb. that I'm not going to explain how a combustion engine works. I just know that isn't your wheelhouse and you don't care. You want the car to start. And
you know
now you're
what?
trying to think
I
about
feel
how
like
a
I want
combustion
to
engine works.
No. I want to argue this because like I think it's a little of both, obviously, but I really do think
you
that
think you're so smart. Because I read Moby Dick, I read Herbert Dreyfus, I read books. Yeah,
I read. Look at me.
Look at me. Just because some of us choose to read the Archie Comics omnibus, because man, Jughead really does love hamburgers. You think you're so much better than me. His dog is named Hot Dog, man.
What do you think of the whole like coming out of the broom closet thing?
Now that I do actually have something to say. I'm smarter than everyone.
Oh,
so
God.
when I come, no, I'll stop.
When I come, it's into the broom closet. I'm gonna have to cut that out.
My God. I swear there's actual news at the end of this, guys. No, I think for the most part, it doesn't benefit most of us to be too upfront. Like, there's nothing wrong with keeping your mouth shut around people who don't care or aren't going to get it. So like, you know, when people are like, oh, I'm in the broom closet, and it's like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean you hide it with a fervor? Does that mean you won't admit to anybody? Or does it mean you just sort of like don't address it because it's really nobody's business? If you talk about it with people that you can trust with it, then you're not really in the broom closet, are you? You're not broadcasting it. And you're not under any obligation to put like the unicursal hexagram on your shirt and walk around with it, you know?
I see. It's a weird thing because I'm debating if I want to try to actually compare it to like being in the closet, like, you know, as a queer person, because it doesn't really feel like it's the same thing to me. Like that's my biggest problem with it. I think is that it's like it's using the analogy, and I feel like it's not really a good analogy in the slightest.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure there are parallels to be drawn, but it's hard. It's not a one for one, and there isn't a whole lot of substantial. Maybe if you're in a community that will brand you a devil worshiper, and you will be seriously ostracized for it, but that probably won't happen. I think people are probably more willing to hear that, ooh, I'm a witch, before they're willing to hear you're gay. Like, some people that's still a problem for some people, which seems crazy, but you know, it's the world we live in still.
And I get we ramp up on satanic panic all the time whenever we see it, because we're always like, yeah, hey, don't forget, they will fucking kill you for being a dumb, spooky woo-woo.
Yo, when the ball drops, you know, when shit goes down, that can get your ass in fucking prison, and people have gone to prison. But oddly enough, the problem is that it's never actually, well, I won't say it's never, but generally it isn't actually people that are spooky woo-woo at all that are getting swept up. It's like, you know, it's people like the people that ran that daycare that were accused of being Satanists. And there was like, this was based on nothing.
Damien Eccles, who got way more spooky afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
but still,
I think my biggest thing really is, though, that like the coming out of the broom closet, like some people feel enough of it. They feel like it connects to their identity enough that they have to let people in their lives know.
Mom, Dad,
I'm a high priestess.
Okay.
Yeah, same joke, you know, but yeah. No daughter of mine is going to be sacrificing cattle.
I was just thinking the druid thing, and it's like, no son of mine's going to turn into a 1/8 combat form.
Oh, God. Terrible.
You better roll your damn initiative.
How come everyone's dad in this is just having like the dumbest voices in the world?
I don't know. We didn't do a single voice for your dad, though, so mission accomplished.
I was definitely doing a voice. That's how my dad talks. Anyway, it reeks of being like a born-again Christian for me. Or a vegan. Like
you really got to tell everyone you're saved, or you know,
right? Or you don't eat meat.
Well, it can definitely be used as like a showy look at me, and I don't think most people use it like that. But I also think most people don't feel the need to strap a pair of devil horns on them and say, I read a book by Levi. Everyone pay attention to me. I'm so smart. You wouldn't get it. I'm super mediocre Kennedy, and I read a book.
I regret everything about this
Podcast
episode.
Over.
Fuck me.
Okay.
Does that mean we gotta... Oh, man.
What?
I get harangued for the whole intro.
Yep.
And now I have to sit through you doing your bit once again.
What bit is that?
You know the one.
Is it the one where I get to ask? I probably just clipped the shit out of the mic when I did that.
It hurt so bad.
What's in the news? Come on, give me the headlines.
I have to pull them up now, but you heard the last episode, right?
Yeah, where you were doing addendums.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, no, you're talking about the voice modulation.
Yeah, the vocoder on the What's in the News.
Yeah. You're an absolute genius. Wish I had thought of that myself. Maybe I would have if I had read a book.
All right, so what is actually in the news?
Look at me. I'm Soundmaker Kennedy, and I read a book. We could start talking about the Republican nominee debate that nobody watched because no Trump. No Trump, no stars.
Again, it's really... The thing that really stuck out to me more than anything was how little variation of ideas there actually were. And the ones that did have big variations were just dumb.
Which I don't remember which one said it, but it was like, we need to find common ground on abortion. And you said the best thing. It's like, we already did. And then you struck down Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That was Nikki Haley.
Yep, Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley. She's not going to be president, folks. I just hope you know that.
There's another one, Will Hurd, who is basically just a CIA guy. It's like, well, the last president that worked for the CIA was, funding death squads, so he's probably out.
Ramaswamy, he literally was just there to either be like Trump's VP.
He's an also ran.
Yeah.
These are all also rans. Like, who's got a fighting chance?
Like, nobody. It's gonna be Trump.
It's
like, why are you even doing this?
Trump or bust. And the other thing is that the only way any of them stand a chance is if he is somehow forced to drop out, which if he'd
have to be like shot in the head. What are you talking about?
I think he'd still run. I think they'd still vote for him.
Well, I mean, like, let's just be honest. There's a subset of the population, I won't say all of them, but some of them, if you said Trump died, they would say he was still alive.
And he's coming back.
Yeah, and he's going to come back. I mean, like an action movie revenge comeback, not like Jesus comeback. I think there's only like 3 people that think Trump would come back like Jesus.
Only 3? Bullshit. No, you got to pump those numbers up. Realistically, if Trump just... say he puffed up in a cloud of smoke and disappeared, DeSantis or Pence, and I'm pretty sure.
No,
DeSantis
I think it would either be DeSantis or Vivek. Pence doesn't stand a chance.
I haven't looked at poll numbers, but
I think they're all bad. I think everyone does terribly. I know Ramaswamy did better after the debate. Obviously, like he was the standout of the debate.
Yeah, but like if you went from a 1% to a 2%, you doubled, but you're still only 2%.
Yeah. Like, at the very best, he's like still third. DeSantis took a hit from the fucking debates. He just stood there and didn't do anything like the whole time. So like he didn't do good, but it also didn't. McConnell froze again. That's a news thing.
They had to. I'm telling you, he peed himself. He's old. He realized he wasn't paying attention. He wasn't realizing it. And he's like, oh, now I'm pissing on myself. And that's why somebody just, ushered him away. He's like, oh, I got pee in my drawers. That's not good.
This last time, apparently someone like asked him a question. He didn't respond. They had to like kind of drag him back to Earth. They didn't like walk him away this time, but they kind of like, hey, Senator.
Okay.
And then they asked it again. He still didn't like understand it. And then one of his aides had to repeat it to him, and he answered after that. So I think he is losing.
Maybe he just can't fucking hear.
No, because even if you can't fucking hear, you would have enough sense not to just be like standing there. He's been doing this for a billion fucking years, right? He knows how this goes. Like, if he would be freaked the fuck out if he was ever sitting at that podium not hearing anyone ask him any questions. Well, actually, now that I say that, maybe that was it. He was terrified because he didn't realize he was losing his hearing yet, and he's like, they're not saying anything. Oh God, what's about to happen?
They're just staring and circling.
Quick, don't blink. They can sense fear. Mitch, how are you gonna get out of this one?
Oh, Mitchy boy. The hens are coming to roost. Oh. Well, there's one thing I'll say as far as the headlines. We haven't really been doing a whole lot as far as the sort of magic perspective. So is it fair to say that there is a possibility that somebody has cursed McConnell?
Like all the magic is like catching up to him after all these years?
Yeah, maybe. Actually, Carol had a neat thing that talking about people of prominent social status. And it's like, and sometimes you'll see when the turn happens, and they lose that protection of like that weird force field that all this idolization puts up around them. As soon as they lose that, they just crumble because all the bad juju that was being thrown at them can finally hit.
That's kind of awesome.
Maybe that's what's happening
to Mitch.
Yeah.
Maybe that would explain, like, because he just keeps. You're right, because he keeps just having terrible things happen to him over and over.
Yeah.
His face looked like hamburger meat for like a month and a half.
It didn't look great to start with, but yeah.
Oh yeah, like his hand was all black and swollen up, like someone had like thrown him in some fucking plague juice. Yeah, it's absolutely nuts.
Trump surrendered to the police. We talked about that in the last episode. So far, actually, yeah. This is because I was going to go into the idea of the conservatives' ongoing legal problems as a movement, not as like political faction, but as a movement. Because the Proud Boys, multiple of their guys are finally getting sentences, and they're not light sentences either.
Oh yeah, they're getting smashed.
I fully thought that this was going to be like, you get off time. I mean, because the Q shaman got off with like very little time. But then these Proud Boys, they're getting 10 plus years.
I think it might be because because of the somewhat light sentences of the early folks.
Mm-hmm.
And also because, let's just be honest, the political climate has shifted a bit. We're a little more willing to just be slapping big times on people, and I can't imagine why. It's almost like someone would benefit from looking like they were hard on these people. Like, I can't imagine who, but the idea of like a bunch of Proud Boys getting thrown in jail for a while, and who gets to take credit for that sort of thing? Of course the prosecutors and the judges and stuff, but like is there like a single figure that you could use as like an amalgamation for like all the things done by a political regime at one point? In the American system,
maybe this would serve as a win that could help distract from other controversial goings-ons of somebody. I'm not sure who exactly, but somebody is clearly, someone clearly benefits from this, right?
Yeah. If you had a weird situation where you're someone you care, I don't know, someone you care about,
was smoking crack and had a laptop, and they're all sorts of shady business.
Yes, this is about Rob Ford.
No, but okay, and I will say counterpoint. I believe the difference between some of these is that a lot of this is these are just fuckers that were there outside the buildings and then walked in and was like, look at me, I'm in the Capitol.
I'm smarter than you. I didn't read a book.
Compared to the Proud Boys who. At least according to the prosecution make the claim that it's these people were planning armed insurrection. And that's the rub. It's
Right.
You just sort of showed up and put your feet on a desk. And I believe the guy that put his feet on Pelosi's desk even got a pretty hefty sentence.
Yeah, I think he got a couple years at least.
Yeah, but like, Proud Boys. And I guess it's interesting that it took this long, considering that this was the start of the Biden administration and it's about to be an election year. So either way, it's like, so I won't try to say that it's like, oh, they're doing this purely because it somehow makes somebody look better. It's like, nothing is ever that cut and dry.
I'm sure there's an element of that though. I know the Trumpster was trying to delay his trial like as much as possible, but come on.
Oh, and that was the point that I was actually getting at when I brought up Trump surrendering to police in the first place. If you're looking at these trial dates, maybe the idea is we'll keep him going in and out of courtrooms and he won't have time to campaign.
I mean, but why do you, every time you say Trump went to court in the news, everyone on his side is already going animal for it. So what's it fucking matter?
Stop. You're making him look cool.
Yeah.
In a way, it's you keep trying to fight against this current, and all the resistance does is serve to embolden the thing you're fighting against. I don't know. It's like, would it be better? I think people were floating this right at the beginning where it's like, would it have been better if we all literally just ignored Trump? And I'm not saying it would have, but maybe this vampiric tendency to turn attention in any, he's the embodiment of all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got the fucking Philosopher's Stone, just transmuting all that fucking bad press.
He turns your wines into wine. And then the last little blip of like, conservative darlings having to go to court. Kyle Rittenhouse is being sued by one of the people he shot. Or well, rather by the estate of of one of his victims. I believe that the headline I saw referred to it as estate of criminal he shot in self-defense, to be like, they really just plopping their nuts on the table and being like, yeah, they were a criminal. They deserved it. It was self-defense. Fuck them. This was a bad person who deserved what they did. And now they have the nerve to sue poor little Kyle. But at the very, it's like this man lost his life. And it wouldn't be the first time that somebody got away with murder on a legal front and then had to go to a civil suit. So that will probably be interesting. But at this point, the kid's got so much backing, he's going to have top-notch lawyers all the way. So it'll probably just come down to who's in that courtroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And lawsuits are a way different animal. There's going to be a very different...
Of, is he liable for these deaths? And it's like, to me, that's going to seem pretty cut and dry, where it's like, he shot the guy, probably liable. But I don't know. It won't be my decision to make. But it's interesting because you look on the Democratic end or the left-leaning end, and you're not seeing any of this. And I guess it makes it very easy to start going like, maybe the criminal justice system. I'm not saying this is what I think. I'm saying that if you are on the right end of the spectrum, you have all of the ammunition you need to reinforce this idea that the criminal justice system is systematically attacking your people because Joe Biden wants to hide his crack rock Ukraine-China dealings.
Is there anything else worth talking about?
Oh, there's loads of headlines.
Did you hear about the kid in Colorado that got thrown out of class for having the "Don't Tread on Me" flag patch?
That's so stupid and lame.
Some teacher of his was like, it has origins in slavery, and he got kicked out, and then he was like, no, it's not, and they had to let him bring it back into school. It's very dumb.
I don't know, man. It's just like it's not like it's a swastika, It's mostly a thing for it's just a widely accepted libertarian. And this was what, a high school, or you said high school?
He's like 12, so
middle school. Yeah, that's exactly when you become a libertarian.
Yeah.
So
he's not quite Ayn Rand libertarian yet, but he's getting there.
I hate to be like this, but genuinely, part of figuring out what your beliefs are is that, like, going through a lot of different ones. And like, you're 12 years old, that kid barely understands the full ramifications of his beliefs, but he's got to start somewhere. He might be embarrassed by this whole story probably by the time he's 16, let alone 18, 20, 30.
Yeah, no, if nothing else, because it's always good to get one over on fucking sensitive administrative people, you know?
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's just be honest.
Schools are lame, man. Listeners, if you got to go to school, you just tell your teachers to, I don't know.
Oh, God.
Say, I got all my learnings from Chaos Magic News. If there's anybody under
listeners, if you're old enough to be in school still, like go to bed.
Just grow up. If there's anybody under 20 listening to this, I'll be shocked. I think we probably skew very closer to like that 25 to 35 range.
I would suggest that we're probably about that like 28 to like 44 demographic.
Yeah, that's probably about right. And then just one 60-year-old, just one our lone 60-year-old listener who's like, these boys are genius. I'm so glad I stopped listening to the InfoWars. These boys telling the truth. And they ain't tried to sell me one super male vitality. Yeah, what is going on with Burning Man? Because it was like, I know there was like protests for people that were trying to get to Burning Man, and now there's people that are just stuck there because of the storms.
Yeah, they were hit with like massive amounts of rain, and now it's just like a giant, dangerous ass mud pit.
Did it stop the burning?
I think the burning had already happened. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Either way, I do think it's very funny that like a large group of people got together with the idea of lighting something on fire and then got rained.
Yeah, that's what you get. Stop burning shit. Most of the country's on fire right now. You insensitive pricks. Party. Ooh, man, it's like just like a 9-day party. It's like, well, yeah, you don't need to you don't need to do Wicker Man for that. Relax.
Calm down.
Just do the drugs out in the desert.
You can just do drugs in the desert. It's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't gotta justify it with a show for people. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just we're gonna do drugs in the desert. We're gonna have some cool lights.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a whole thing. You ever been to anything like Burning Man?
No, not at all.
Would you consider going to something like that? Because I remember we were talking about what's that big thelemic it's like Babylon Rising or some shit like that. What's it called?
Oh yeah, Babylon Rising, the festival.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe going to that, which seems like, that could be like a fun type thing. I used to go to music festivals, and I've never really had a profound magical experience at them, but maybe there's a it's a pilgrimage type thing. There could be some good stuff there.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if we ever get to the point where we could just be like, hey, Burning Man's coming up, and just go do the Chaos Magic News episode at Burning Man, I wouldn't say no to that. I honestly wouldn't say no to doing like a dumb live episode or a dumb like documentary episode of us like walking around something, recording us talking and shit. I'd totally be down with that.
We do like whole newsman shtick.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like yeah, that'd be great. All right, and to more of the legal troubles of conservatives, Governor Kemp refuses to remove the DA Willis.
Oh man,
because they were like, that was their response. Like, we're gonna just remove the attorney general, or the district attorney rather. That did the charges. So it's like but obviously she's corrupt because she filed charges against Trump, and then Governor Kemp was just like, nah, fam.
Here's the thing, like, listeners, if you're not from the area, I lived in Georgia for quite a while. It's like Brian Kemp is a hardcore Republican fucking loser. Like, he is every bit of like the Trumper. Like, when he announced he was running for governor, he went on TV with a sawed-off shotgun saying, I am the politically incorrect candidate. Like, he's one of these people. So the fact that he like was straight up like, you're gonna try to remove my people? Fuck no, you ain't.
He can't be governor again. And I don't I know in Georgia it's like 2 consecutive terms, so I guess maybe he can like stop and then go again or something like that. I have to find the finer details.
Right, but
either
he
way,
knows he's
can't
not
run-
like running for
Yeah,
re-election.
He's not running again, so I guess he is. In the face of that, he's able to just sort of do what he wants. And I guess he looked at this and he's like, nah, this nonsense has gone on far enough. It wouldn't be good for him if we went along with it anyway, because if you know that they're not going to find any evidence to prove the kind of fraud that they're saying happened, then you're just going to look bad because you went along with a farce. So
yeah, and then
honestly,
you let
'cause-
them, and also, you let someone who is not the governor of the state just bust in and tell you how to run your fucking state.
So I guess, it's I don't agree with this man on much of anything, I'd imagine, but good for you. You didn't let somebody just make you roll over.
Yeah. Thousands rally in Niger seeking withdrawals of French troops. We already went over the coup that happened over there, and the French, they ain't leaving. They're there.
When we first talked about it, we were just sort of like, man, military got pissed and sort of took over. But at the same time, this could, in a way, this could be closer to the will of the people than what we had at the time, especially if they're trying to kick the French out. This is sort of just, anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism. It's probably not going to be pretty, but at the same time, like, get rid of them Frenchmen. I probably don't know enough to have an informed opinion, but I guess I'm willing to entertain both, or not just the either or, but all the views in between. I'm sure there's a lot to be said about it. I don't feel the need to go and say, oh, this is absolutely a bad thing or this is absolutely a good thing. It's probably not pretty, and I hope that the violence doesn't get completely out of hand, but it probably will, because war ain't pretty.
I'm in agreement with you, because like the only thing I know about it comes from like reading the various articles that I've seen since this started. It's a confusing game.
You're just never going to get a cut and dry, this side punches babies and throws poodles off of roofs, It's like both sides are probably going to have big glaring issues. And I don't know. I just don't know the finer points of this. If you are looking at the idea of like, hey, French military, get the hell on, that could I could see tons of people going, hey, that's anti-imperialism. Hey, that's anti-colonialism. Just kick them the hell out. And they're going to be like, yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. What else we got? We're getting a lot of news about another COVID variant going ham, and people saying we should probably start masking up and stuff.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah, no, there's no way. No one's going to end up doing it. Like, and it's not even like a vaccine's fake, COVID's fake, don't wear a mask, you're a sheeple. I just don't think people have the mental wherewithal to do that shit again.
Oh, they're not going to do it again.
We're too desensitized. Like, they don't care.
Yeah, they've also shown that they don't give a damn, because it's like last time this stuff happened, what was the thing we kept saying? Nah, you can't go to the movies. Nah, you can't go visit your grandma. But you know where you can go? To work.
That's what I was about to say. Like, the working class is completely desensitized to it, because we've all been fucking out there going to work and doing stuff since this shit started. Like, none of us got time off.
Thrilled for if you had a job where you worked with your hands in any shape or form, or even not even just did you do not like just physical labor, but if you did anything that actually required like being on site for something, COVID didn't change shit except make your life a little more inconvenient when you weren't at work. They're all the office folks that got to work from home. I'm very happy for those people.
Right.
But the thing is that a lot of I know I didn't get that luck, and I don't mean to be like, oh, woe is me, but it's like I didn't get that luxury. I got COVID. Somebody coughed around me, and I literally looked at one of my coworkers and said, "This is it. This is how I get COVID." And then it was like 2-3 days later.
Yeah, like that's just the reality of the situation, is that like so many of us had to just keep going through it.
Yeah. Some people got to stay home baking bread and doing shit, and then some of us just had to go get infected. And it's that problem of like, yeah, should people be wearing masks? Should we be taking steps? Yeah, but we're not going to do anything meaningful to take care of the people that are vulnerable to it. And the government isn't going to step up and try to do anything.
They're definitely not
And-
going to start giving out money like they did last time either.
And overall, even sometimes when they tried to do these lockdowns, they got shown they were ineffective. And I won't argue like, oh, the lockdowns didn't work. I think they just weren't enforceable in a meaningful way a lot of the time.
Right.
So that it just fell the fuck apart, you know?
Yeah.
So new COVID variant, man, that really sucks. But there will probably be nothing done about it.
It's called Eris, apparently.
Everybody touch your face. Touch your face for Discordianism. Why the fuck would you name it Eris? Why are you tempting fate like that?
Because they don't know, man. They just don't know.
They should fucking know.
Oy. All right. Is there anything else? I feel like this news segment was like really heavy on like the big eye-catchy dumb news, and we didn't get much of the we didn't get a lot of like the weirder fun ones that we normally do, but I don't know what else we can go.
Oh, Jimmy Buffett died.
Oh yeah.
That's very sad. I don't have anything to.
Well, I'm just gonna play a song right here. That'll do it.
I'm just looking for a spot on the beach. Now these are keywords that I use to make my fan base go crazy. Don't
I
even
showed you
care,
that, right?
I really can't sing.
No, you didn't.
Oh God, I posted it in the group chat. It's one of the Neebs gaming guys. Ironically enough, it's the one that died earlier this year.
Oh, it's sad.
It's not a direct parody. It's not like a Weird Al parody, but it's just making fun of Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Why? It's already funny.
I don't know. It's clearly written by someone that thinks like Jimmy Buffett fucking sucks, and like
I think Jimmy Buffett has a sort of quaint, hokey charm. So
do I. But I also am not above people being made fun of.
Yeah. It's no. I just mean like you're making fun of him by the things that like it's like, yeah, that's why I showed up here. It's you know what it is? It's the Weird Al Dare to Be Stupid thing. You created the ultimate Jimmy Buffett song. You exemplified all of the things that made me love him in the first place.
Anyway, so yeah, I guess we need a parrot headline, don't we?
Yep, we certainly do.
Do you have one?
Not off the top of my head here. Let me look around. Let me see. This isn't really a parrot headline, but this is maybe something worth talking about. The SAG-AFTRA, writers strike type stuff has now gone to the video game industry.
Really?
So the entire entertainment complex is grinding to a halt, and I'm all for it because when labor sticks its hand in the pockets, it's got the bosses beat.
That's great to hear because I heard somebody rant today about how fucking the Hollywood bullshit people don't need money and how dare they go on strike right now when they haven't come up with an original idea in years. And I'm like, who do you think is the one striking?
Yeah, George Clooney is striking. He just said, he just said, I want another $1 billion for my movie or I'm going to have a fit. So yeah, it's silly. People get the complete wrong idea about this. And there's actually a lot on the line. The standards to use AI for actors and for writing and stuff like that. A lot of this is on the table. A lot of the overall quality of life, things like crunch that a lot of these animation studios are going through. And, there's loads of stuff that's on the table that it's like might not even be addressed specifically by this, but this is going to set the tone for all of these problems that are going to be coming down the road in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And I'm always game for anything that is people that are doing the work coming together and making demands, because that's the only way, at least to my understanding of history, that is really the only way things get better for the working class.
That's funny. That does lead to another bit of news that I didn't even think I was going to talk about. Disney essentially demanded more money from the cable companies to carry their channels, which is really funny when you think about it. The idea of Disney, who is losing money hand over fist right now.
Yeah.
Because, take your pick, honestly. Just anything Disney's done in the last 5 years has probably been a bad decision in some regard. It's not just, oh no, they're woke, obviously, but there were some bad business decisions, bad creative decisions. And it seems a lot more likely that they've all been from top down. This was the executive in the board meeting deciding what to do and telling the creative people what to do.
And they biffed it hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with this before, because I only knew about it because I dealt with it like a couple years ago when I was over at my parents who still had cable. But like I just saw, like, turned it to a channel and it was like, sorry, we don't have this channel right now because something. But this time, fucking the cable companies were not having that shit. And they're like, Disney has demanded an unreasonable amount of money from us. So we have dropped their channels until they will be willing to work out an arrangement. But again,
until you want to act right.
Like, it's hilarious. Like, Disney, who's been losing money hand over fucking fist, going to the cable companies and being like, you're the one with the money. Who the fuck has cable?
We need this money to fight DeSantis. But yeah,
it's just ridiculous. It's fucking like, of all the ways you think you're going to make some money right now, Disney, you're going to be like, the cable companies. Quick, you know the boomers need us.
Yeah, just a bunch of silly ass shit, man.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
I think we can safely say we're going to wrap up the news segment. Do you have any parting thoughts?
No, I think I'm good because it's funny, right? Because we're done with the news, but we're not really done with the news.
Yeah, well, this is more of a deep dive into a specific story and the bad actors involved.
Well, you've been dipping your toes in this story. Would you like to lay the foundation?
All right, I can certainly try my best. All right, well, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love under will.
So Thelemites, right?
No story has ever started better. Hey, everybody, if you want a nice overview of this, Loki's Gazette has a piece called This Story. Links in the metadata. It's very good.
So Thelemites, right? Thelemites have a storied tradition of undercutting each other and infighting and doing lots of awful stuff to one another for no apparent reason. So we're going to talk about a couple of real fine people that just make you really proud to be part of the extended occult community. There was a woman by the name of Georgia Van Raatle, also known as Georgia Albertus, which I believe is also a Harry Potter character, but something like that. Okay, so 5 years ago, Georgia accused a man named Sef Salem, who was another notable Thelemite OTO person. But Peter Gray also gets caught in the crossfire sort of after the fact, and there's a couple others. But mostly Sef Salem, who Georgia and Sef were in a relationship for a number of months. It didn't go so well. They broke up. Georgia got in another relationship and then accused Sef of sexual assault, rape, and all kinds of nasty shit and ruined the man's reputation. And, there was a very strong backlash and lines were drawn, sides were picked. Lots of bad things happened. Peter Gray got some heavy criticism for a thing that he published after that wasn't related, but essentially was viewed by Georgia as a rape apologia because of the nature of the sexual magic that was involved. And that was the thing, is that the idea is that Sef had used their relationship of a magical sexual coupling and used the initiatory sex magic process as an excuse to just do sexual assault, which is, God, I don't even want to. It's like I don't even want to fucking touch the awful intricacies, the tangled mess of consent and boundaries and this and that and everything else that would go into something like that. It's difficult stuff, I can't imagine. But,
and just to mention it back in the last episode, magical diddlers again. Not to just be so crass about it,
and
but
that's the problem,
that's
it's magic diddlers.
Just the very notion of it already makes me kind of uncomfortable just on the basis of like,
makes your skin crawl a little bit. And to hear that accusation, it makes your skin crawl. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe someone would do that. But here's the thing, listeners. Georgia just released a statement not too long ago that basically says, I was wrong. That's not how it happened.
this is from a statement by Georgia Van Raatle. 5 years ago, I publicly accused Sef Salem of sexually assaulting me. This was not true. I'd like to share for you the story of how I came to spread this untruth with the hope that, by doing so, I can clear his name from the infamy to which it has been subject.
All right. 5 years.
There you go. 5
years you told, and that, here's my problem, right? I don't want to come down too hard on this person, but I do. 5 fucking years. 5 years of saying this person is a rapist. 5 years of telling these things. And then you have the nerve to put this little statement up there like, here's the story of how I spread this untruth. You lied. I'll tell you how you spread it. You are a liar. And she tries to basically pawn it off on the partner that she got with after Sef, basically getting in, twisting the story around in her head and saying, you need to come out and speak out against this person or I'll do it for you. And I already have and stuff like that. And that's totally fucked. And we'll get into who this mystery person is because she didn't name it, but we all fucking know it. You can figure out who this person is very quick. Everybody knows, especially because they came out and said, yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
So already passing the buck and saying like, oh, man did bad thing to me, but it was a lie because other man did bad thing. And I understand that the entire point of this is that it is taking some responsibility, but it's also this idea of too little, too late. Like what? 5 fucking years. And I don't know enough to comment on this part, but it's probably true. Sorry, that's a shitty thing to say. But there's the idea that Sef Salem was a shitty person and that did things and treated people in a way that isn't really fucking kosher. He's a prominent member of the occult community. So that's almost a standard. One, that doesn't justify calling him a rapist. That doesn't justify holding on to it for so long. That doesn't justify letting it go for 5 years and then coming out and being like, oops, let me clear his name now. And it's like, you've already done so much damage to this person. So now you've damaged this person's ability to be part of the community at all. He's probably lost friends. People have probably broken off friendships because they fell on different sides of the line and stuff like this. And it's all because you threw a fucking Molotov into the middle of the occult community on a lie. And now you're coming around after the forest is burnt down, pouring with a little gardening hose, It's like,
yeah. And
it's sickening. It's genuinely sickening. And this isn't to come to the defense of poor Sef Salem, because if some of the less rapey things that have been said about him are true, he's still probably not an angel. He's probably not a guy that I'd like to sit down and have a conversation with. Now the problem is that any bad thing that anybody says about this guy, he can just say like, well, just look, everybody, my entire
people be lying on me.
Yeah, people just be lying on me. All I tried to do was do my true will and do my little spells and have conventions with people and say neat things. And then they just say mean lies about me and ruin my reputation because they're all jealous and this, that, and the other, It's all the justification.
And that goes back to what we were talking about last episode, right? Where, we accept that these things do happen in these sorts of communities, in these sorts of groups, these institutions. And the idea that you would use that, so brazenly, that's a huge hit to anybody trying to come out with any sort of abusive thing.
Well, yeah, because now when the next thing happens,
Right.
It just sucks.
When this thing's just going to be sticking in everyone's mind going like, well, what kind of book is this one going to be plugging in a month?
Yeah, and that's the other big thing too, is the idea that Georgia and the soon to be named other boyfriend that came after Sef used this incident as a means to fortify their positions in the occult community and sell books and rise to more prominence by pitching their sales to the Me Too movement and using this to get attention and everything else, which is, that thought is even more sickening. The idea that you effectively torched a man's reputation on a lie and then you tangibly benefited from it is even worse. It's just another day in the occult community, you know? But to me, it's crazy when you think about it like this, because like people talk about the wickedest man in the world, Aleister Crowley, and it's like, this motherfucker didn't do anything nearly like that. Right?
I don't know. There's some questionable things Crowley did. There's some.
No, I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking. I wouldn't want it because there's the Regardi incident and stuff like that. So maybe there's, I don't know.
Oh well, I mean, the Regardi thing is very questionable. That's
it didn't happen.
Well, I was gonna say that's something that like that's way more questionable. That's less likely than the fucking getting kicked down the stairs.
Oh, okay.
But you know, there are some things about some various. I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it. The point is, this whole story really reeks because it's not only one using something as horrible as sexual assault as a weapon against another person that they had emotional ties to at one point.
I'll say this, like, they were together for a couple months. Y'all just speed run relationships into the ground. Like, you know, imagine that. Imagine you were with somebody like what, 5-6 months, and then they turn around and do that. It's like, holy fucking shit. How bad was this guy?
It's terrible to see that happen. It's terrible to see it's terrible to see that it went on this long. But the added layers of like the clout chasing with it, the using of it as solidifying yourself within a community, it's just really icky. Like, I don't say icky often, but that is like icky. That is like disturbing and horrible.
Using that kind of thing and then putting your own personal proximity to a tragedy and trying to pump yourself up.
Yeah.
And then it's unconscionable.
Right. And it's even worse that once it comes out, you try to then paint yourself as a victim.
Yeah.
That would be pretty fucking disgusting as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do we want to talk about who the hell this mystery man is?
It's Marco fucking Visconti.
All right. Full disclosure, because we are transparent here at CMN. We talked about Marco Visconti in an episode called Introduction to Chaos Magic Beefs. And we kind of talked about how him and Gordon White had like a fucking hissy fit.
Yeah, because who gives a shit, you know?
Yeah, that was almost the whole point of it, is that we talked about a bunch of like petty, really dumb bullshit that we shouldn't be talking about. And
this is not, but this situation is not petty. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not petty. This is horrifying.
Fucking disgusting.
The other interaction we've had with them was they posted something about the Kabbalion, our favorite magical book, as our listeners know.
Yeah, we're all about the Kabbalion. It is the best. The 2-ply Kabbalion is where I'm at, you know.
Real cushy. But yeah, they tweeted something about that, and they used the phrase "real magicians." We responded by saying "real magicians" and sending them photos of like Penn and Teller and Doug Henny and
the amazing Jonathan.
And the amazing Jonathan.
R.I.P.
And they were not happy about that.
Well, then the only other interaction we've had with him beyond that was he basically called us bullies and harassers, and that we were like attacking him. And it's like that the only time we messed with you once, and it wasn't even like that. It wasn't even that big of a deal. But and we only bring this up to point out that Marco has a very long-standing pattern of taking any minor thing that happens and then spinning it like people are out to get him.
Yeah, you know, his Gordon White problem, his Peter Gray problem, his problem with everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Just Marco is the epitome of like, man, maybe it's you. If everybody else has a problem with you, maybe it's you. Here's the thing. Apparently, Marco and Georgia had a relationship after Sef. During Georgia's come down from things that had happened in the relationship, she began writing, talking about the intersections of trauma and sex magic and consent and that, like things that are probably cool to write about. I haven't read them, but it's definitely a fertile ground to write about. And then he was like, well, yeah, but then Sef raped you, right? Like that's basically what it's like. He's basically saying, well, what about your ex? What about that guy that was before me? Which is like, man, you're really going after, like, I don't like the guy that my beloved was with before me at all, but I wasn't gonna, Jesus Christ. It's just, so it's like, one, that's sick. And then two, it's been floated that his issues against Sef were a lot more than just being sloppy seconds. He also was envious of his position in the OTO type adjacent circles and stuff like that, because a lot of people didn't take him very seriously or didn't take him as seriously. And basically painting this as a means of that this was to try to muscle in on his territory by torching his reputation to the ground. And then in response, as after Georgia wrote a blog of his own, basically saying that, like, oh, well, Sef might not have actually raped her, but
yeah, he's like, he's a bad
terrible
person and
he
he sucks. And Georgia lied to me, or I never convinced anybody. Just deny. In fact, if I can find it real quick. Oh, wait, I can't, because it was on Medium and it is currently down. So it says something. What was that? What did that say? It was called a bullet point list of truths and falsehoods. And, he just denies everything and says that it's not his fault and Sef sucks anyway. Yeah, but you can't get to it right now. It says this post is under investigation or was found in violation of the Medium rules. So we can't blame Marco for taking it down or anything, like, which, I wouldn't put past him. Who knows? At this point, someone could have just been like,
that it's against their terms of service to try to double down on a false rape accusation.
Oh man, that's fucked up.
But I mean, just saying, like, a lot of people probably wouldn't take kindly to it. There is a notable article that brings it's very biased against Marco, so I'll just go ahead and say it's very biased against him. So I suppose there is the possibility that this isn't entirely him, and I don't think it is either. I think Georgia is just as much to blame, if not more so, because she's the one who made the accusation. But it very much paints this idea that this sort of maneuvering and backhanded shit is totally the brainchild of Visconti, because he wanted to latch himself onto particular social justice sort of sensibilities so that he could appear like he was a moral paragon while simultaneously being a manipulative, shitty person who was bitter and envious of people around him and did whatever he could to try to get some clout, try to get some attention, and just the type of sickening behavior that you'd think spiritual people would be above, but they're not. And to add more fuel to the fire, now there have been even more accusations from people that were like mods for him in his little online corners that say things like, oh, yeah, he'd throw hissy fits when you didn't give him enough attention, or if you refused to do free labor for him and stuff like that. And there's a couple screenshots from back then of him telling people to go kill themselves and shitty things like that, which I don't think is like I don't think saying like kill yourself is the worst thing in the fucking world, but like it just shows a pattern of being shitty to people when he thinks that they can't come at him, or when he thinks no one will call him out on it. At the same time, we see this behavior of super, super willing to wag the finger at people that he thinks he is morally above and that he can look down his nose at. Piece of shit is the point I'm making. I just don't know how else to put it. Where it's like this was just this was a hand grenade. This was a Molotov. This was a pipe bomb full of magic nails thrown into the heart of a little circle of the occult community, and it's just gotten on everything.
Well,
it's just on everybody.
Here's the problem, right?
Because we're not even done. We're not even done. So far, so
let's take a bot.
Sef had his reputation ruined. Peter Gray took a hit. A couple other people that we haven't even named took a hit. Well, that's not even touching on the ideas of the relationships that probably fell apart due to these accusations. And then Georgia comes by later with her already empty fire extinguisher of saying, "Oh, my bad." Marco and Georgia used this to elevate themselves, while at the same time trying to say, "Oh, this wasn't about getting attention," which saying, "Man, if that wasn't what you were trying to do, you sure got a weird way of going about it." So Marco built himself up on it, and Marco doubles down. Meanwhile, people are coming out saying Marco's a piece of shit, treats people badly, and everything else.
Yeah, so where the hell could we even go from here?
Where else? What if we told you that this incident caused an entirely separate thelemic order to fall apart?
So, something we haven't mentioned about Dr. Van Raatle here as a academic, progressive, occult writer. Van Raalte's pretty into Babylon.
Makes sense.
Yeah, they and their husband, I believe, formed the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss, which was sort of just like a small group of people doing who cares? It's not really important. But Georgia has definitely done a lot to popularize and has written a lot about, Babylon, Gnosis, and such. But there are other groups that are related to that concept, though they don't exactly have the same official ties. So there was Ecclesia Babylon, right? Which is a completely unrelated order, essentially. Yet.
Go on. I did a lot of the talking here.
Well, so a certain member, a certain bishop of that group wrote to a prestigious educational institute, Harvard
Square.
Good old Harvard, where Dr. Van Raalte is currently, I believe they got a research grant or something to that effect. They're on the Harvard payroll somehow. But a member of Ecclesia Babylon wrote a letter to Harvard to, I don't know, I guess maybe kind of explain what was going on with the Georgia Van Raalte thing, and maybe you should think twice about funding her.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't give your money to somebody who would engage in such unethical and shameless behavior.
Right.
That kind of email.
Right, that kind of email. But they signed it as a bishop of the Ecclesia Babylon. And the other bishops and members of that group really didn't like that.
They really, really, really didn't like that somebody who was in fact a bishop of the group made the point that they were a bishop in an email. That's basically the rub. And it turned into such a shit show.
It turned into such a shit show of ridiculous nonsense that they disbanded.
Yeah, they said, "Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Done with this."
And just done. So now the EB is no longer a thing. Just adding to the body count.
A good chunk of them apparently went and formed another one. Which is pretty funny. It's the idea. Right. It's like the J Mask is Dinosaur Jr. thing, where you say the band's done, but then you call everyone up immediately except for one guy and say, "Hey, you want to make a new band?" That's what the Golden Dawn should have done with Crowley. They were like, "No, the Golden Dawn's over," and then just called each other up and be like, "Hey guys, you want a new Golden Dawn?"
You guys, hey, call Mackin and Yates. We're gonna just nobody tell him, okay? Just shut up about it.
Just don't tell him. Oh, hey, Alistair. What are you whispering about?
Just, hey,
William.
You see those stairs over there?
For those keeping score, we have member of the Thelemic community, reputation destroyed, 5 years. We have another prominent occult writer
called a rape apologist.
We have maligned occult figure number 1 getting in on the shit show and having a relationship with maligned occult figure number 2, who uses this to bolster her own career. Flash forward 5 years, we have maligned occult figure number 2 recanting their statement, possibly because somebody said that they were going to, out them on this. There's nothing to confirm that. That's just what I've heard.
And that's even better.
Disclaimer
the
there.
That it wasn't. You could at least make the argument that it's like maybe your conscience finally got the better of you, but of course not. Nobody goes and owns up to this afterwards because the guilt got to them. Clearly something forced her hand.
I mean, again, allegedly. So I don't know. Maybe this was eating her up the entire fucking time.
Yeah.
Who knows? The point is, it still happened. Maligned occult figure number 1 writes a whole big bullet pointed list as to why this is not their fault.
About how this isn't his fault and how he is once again the victim.
How this is all a vast conspiracy and he's going to sue everybody.
Oh no, they're going to sue? Oh shit. Take all of this back.
I would love to get sued. I would love to get sued by Marco Visconti. That'd be fucking great.
I have no money.
I
got nothing.
I mean, yeah, I ain't got nothing.
I thought it doesn't. Whatever. Good.
I don't even know how the fuck he'd manage this.
Marco, come to the mean streets of Chicago and we'll settle it. Queensberry rules.
Finally, we have a completely separate organization collapsing under the drama of someone saying that they're a member and that this was bad. All right, folks, time for your addendum. In the time since we recorded this, Georgia Van Raatle has resigned her fellowship. It was a fellowship. That was the word I was looking for. With Harvard. As far as Ecclesia Babylon, Bob McDonald, the founder of the order, has not given a exact reason for why the order went under. But if his Facebook post about the ending of it is any indication, it seems to have been about his own personal stress and issues of missionary work, as he calls it. At any rate, that seems to be the end of this story for now.
That was all a bunch of unpleasant stuff that I think people should, you should be aware of this, because this is just one story of many. Like, this is what happens when these people get together in numbers. And why is that? Is it, this will sound weird, is it somehow academia's fault? Is this just what like the stuffy robe types do? Like, they just look down their nose and think they're better than everybody, or what? Like, what is going on? I don't get it. Like, is this just what happens when people who join these types of orders, because the only people that these orders appeal to are people that are obsessed with trying to climb somewhere? Because the people that I know, like, we're not saints, but the people that, the people that I like to talk to about this stuff, that I like to do work with, that, people that I think know what's going on, none of them are like this. How hard is it to not be that shit of a person? Like, I'm not saying you be perfect, but this is genuinely sick behavior.
Yeah. I think everyone has demons in their closet that they are not proud of, right? But a lot of us have them kind of...
I didn't write a blog about it.
But yeah, that's what I was going to say. A lot of it we relegate to our personal lives and our personal failings. We don't turn our personal failings and our personal lives into fodder for an occult order or a theological battle with people that we hate on the internet.
Or an online spectacle.
Right. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because we're not trying to sell a book. Maybe if we had the moment to like really fucking like grill somebody and throw them under the bus for some terrible shit because we knew it would sell us a book, maybe we'd be into it. I doubt it. I just don't understand why anyone would like...
If you hear this story, if you hear this nonsense we've been talking about and still think you want to go join the OTO or something.
Right. Yeah. It's like what are they going to give you at this point?
False rape accusation.
Well, that's the thing. Like, these are the prominent people of the occult in a lot of ways. These are popular names. You know, the only person in there that is someone that I wouldn't like call a bullshit artist, con man, and a hack was like Peter Gray. And I'm not even like the biggest Peter Gray fan. He's just the only one that I don't think is like human garbage.
Yeah, I just don't just.
But these are the names, you know?
We deserve a better caliber of kook in the occult community.
You remember we were talking about Boleskine episodes back?
Right.
Where we talked like the most successful people in Thelema were people like Gunther and stuff like that, because and Breeze, just people that have...
Who can get the most grift?
Yeah, who can get the most money and bullshit out of this? Like, that's what they are. If you're convinced that all of these fancy orders and stuff can do anything, look at the most successful people in them. Do they seem like they have anything? It's the God problem, right? Because it's like either they're terrible magicians and they can't do anything useful, or they're good magicians and they use it just to grift and still be losers. Yep. Like, they can't make themselves look interesting. They can't make anything beautiful. They can't make anything like fascinating. They can't keep membership up. Like, what can they do?
What they can do is suck the blood out of each other.
Yeah, exactly. What they can do is fucking stab each other in the back and throw around accusations, or at best, beg for money for a fucking goddamn Crowley dream house.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry to bring it back to that. Like, we're a broken record on the fucking, you know, Boleskine and shit like that. It all comes back to the same problem. These orders, these people, these communities are all fucking full of shit, and none of them seem to have anything worth a damn.
So what's the solution? Is it to just, to me, I can tell you what I think the solution is.
Go for it.
Join the CMN Discord. No, I'm kidding. I genuinely think that I have two thoughts. One, these long-standing orders need to just keep schisming and schism and schism and schism and schism and schism.
Well, I mean, no, apparently not, because, you know, fucking Ecclesia Babylon was like, what? Like, it's only like 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that if this just happens long enough and things just keep burning to the ground over and over again, people will be so dispersed that maybe we have some ground to get somewhere again. And beyond that, it's just try to find people that you genuinely have a connection with. Be open, honest, compassionate, understanding, and loving of the people that are around you. Support the people that are doing work around you, not just in the idea of like, oh, well, they're doing woo-woo, so I should like them. Figure out who this person is and say, I see what you're doing, and I wanna be there because you succeeding is me succeeding, you know? You doing well is me doing well, and I want to help you get there. If you can't carry that mentality, you don't need to be around these people, you know? If the people you're around don't inspire you, don't elevate you, what's the point? And the problem is that's hard. You can't just show up, put your $10 donation at the door, and then go into the Gnostic Mass. You have to actually learn about people, and you have to be willing to understand people. And maybe it's shitty of me to talk about compassion and understanding while I just spent the last 20 minutes shit talking people that I've never had a genuine conversation with. But
I've spoken to Van Raatle before, on Facebook. But yeah, no, we were in the same kind of groups and stuff. Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's fine. She's fine enough to have a conversation with, I guess, you know.
Well, this wasn't fine.
I don't really care for her work. I don't, but you know, like that's almost the point too, is like, this was someone that a lot of people really liked and respected. I always thought they were semi mediocre. Sometimes they were fun. You know, I was supportive, I guess, before this.
You will be much more satisfied with yourself if you have 4 or 5 people that you can genuinely stand. And I think we've said stuff to this effect than you will having a crowd of gibbering morons who are falling on your every word.
Yeah.
Or worse yet, you know, you'll be happier in a smaller circle of people who are honestly trying to do something than you will in a room full of sharks who are all very interested in making a buck.
I think this sort of goes into our palate cleanser for the episode. So maybe I'll just go ahead and ask it. How goes the work?
I am on to the ceremonial magic section of Liber K, and it's going pretty good. I did a renewal of the oath I took before I started it. I want to say I did it when I started the shamanic section. I'm just going to try to do a renewal of the oath every time I finish one, and I've just had a lot going on where when I started the very first section, I moved 3 different times in a year. And then things stabilized, but other things got in the way, and then a lot more of my time went into doing the podcast, so things were slow going. But in a way, the ceremonial, while it might be the most ornate because you have to literally do like ceremonial magic, it's also the one that you have the most fun with, and the one that you have, because you can create ornate rituals, it gives you the most freedom in the weird way. So I'm hoping that one will go a lot faster, and maybe I'll be wrong and it'll take for fucking ever again, but we'll see. How goes your work?
Well, this sort of answers what I think we should do about that situation. Each magician must determine for himself his own grimoire, but this is only possible after such a person has advanced very far in the magical disciplines. He must be able to translate himself literally into a grimoire. He must be able to make a grimoire as his own image, in the same way we understand that the Bible says that God made man in his own image. All other magical works fail unless we are able to use this principle.
That's Bertio.
Yep. Michael Bertio.
You know how I know that?
How?
You sent me the quote earlier. Hey!
Yeah.
Airhorn, Airhorn.
I'm not saying that you don't need other people to do magic, but, you also don't need other people to do magic. I think
what about the magic of this podcast?
Oh, of course. This wouldn't work without you, bud.
This is
the nicest I've ever been to you on this podcast.
You're normally like, let me replace him with an AI or...
no, I could definitely do it with an AI too. In fact, it may be better.
I'll fucking kill you. I will spread so many false accusations.
You'll never recover.
This whole podcast will come crumbling down on your head.
Yeah, no, I think that's where my work is right now, trying to build a system out of all of the things that I've done at this point.
I must create a system or be enslaved by another.
Yeah, you know what the problem with that is, though? You and I both know that.
Yeah, he's wrong. Loss is wrong. That's the point of Jerusalem. But
yeah. Anyway, but the point being that, I think that's sort of where my head's at and where my work is at. And that really is what I think is lacking in the occult right now to begin with. Is that there's so many people that are really, really interested in playing around with other people's systems.
Or trying to get other people to play around with their system.
And not in a way that it's like, hey, I'm going to teach you something, but in a way that it's just aesthetics, I guess, maybe. It's magical aesthetic. It's deciding how what kind of magic vibe you want this week. No one's interested in the real work. They want the magical consumerism is what they want. They want someone to give you a book that can be your paradigm for a month. When we talked about how everyone's a K-out nowadays, whether they realize it or admit it or not, that's part of the problem, I think, is that so many people are willing to, without even actively thinking about it, they see new magical ideas and that's their paradigm and they go with it. And none of them have ever decided, not none of them, I'm being hyperbolic, but too many of them just do that and they don't actually ever think about what they're really trying to accomplish. And when you do that sort of stuff, of course you become fodder for flavor of the month occultism people and, parasocial relationships with other magic people. So, maybe worry about your own shit. And, if nothing else, if you actually make a decent magical system, you can try to grift with it later.
Well, and that's the thing, I guess, is that if you do build something unique that is really worth sharing, people will find it, whether you're
Yeah.
trying to sell it or not.
Whether the people are worth it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
with that said,
this has been Chaos Magic News, the only podcast that is creating its own podcasting system that you can be a part of for 4 payments of $9.95.
as always, if you are part of Marco Visconti's legal team, you can find us at chaosmagicnews.com, where we'll have links to the pod, links to our interview series, which we've got a couple more coming down the pipeline soon from some really, really cool people. Also, the occasional article. We're going to try to start getting more articles out, but some things just go to the wayside, sadly. We've also got a Facebook page, an Instagram, a Threads, a Twitter, a TikTok, where we will be posting episode clips and the occasional funnies, because we got some goofy ideas that we think would be really entertaining for you, give you a cheap laugh and get that algorithm dollar. And also, the podcast is on YouTube now. So
if you're listening to this on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe.
Yeah, be sure to hit that.
Leave a comment.
Smash that subscribe button into a million pieces. Put those pieces in a sack. Throw them into the ocean, and never admit where you were on this dreaded night.
And ring that bell.
And the bell will tell you like notifications or something. I don't know. I don't understand how YouTube works.
I don't know how YouTube works.
I didn't go to school.
I'm smarter than you, though. I read a book.
Oh, boy. Well,
oh, God.
And you know what? I'm just going to say this, too. For everybody that is listening, thank you. The support that we do get for doing this show is, it's, I won't pretend that we're just, every one of these things is doing numbers, but even the small comments from you guys and the occasional, like, hey, I really liked this one, it means the world to us. It really does. So thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. You are the reason we do this.
Till next time.
Nope, because we have one more thing.
What's that?
Dijon Sanders, would you like the last word?
Actually, yeah, I would. If you would just give me a second. I believe it is. Here it comes.
Oh, he did the thing.
Yay.
Oh, no. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
That is a clown with some titties. That's not news at all.
This is news at all. These are titties.
Why'd I go? I never
Why'd
thought
I go looking for titties?
I never thought clowntitty.com would sink so low as to put this kind of vulgarity in front of me and go into a trusted news source. Oh boy.